Alright, what is up guys? In this video I am going to bring over 7 methods on how to expand your consciousness. These have all worked for me to some degree, some have worked more than others, but before I get into these methods, I want to talk a bit about what it even means to expand consciousness and why it's even important at all. So to expand consciousness is the act of seeking new ideas, new information, new perspective, new states of consciousness, new ways of being, new ways of living, so that we can better navigate this reality and so we can better understand the world around us and ourselves. Because all of us grew up in this bubble, we live in the same country our entire life or the same area, and our knowledge and our perspectives on reality and the world around us are limited to what our culture has told us. And I guarantee you there's so much more to the puzzle than what's presented at the surface level. We've all just found ourselves here in this body and we're all just trying to make sense of it. We're trying to live our best life and, to really understand on a deeper level, what I'm doing here on this earth, who I am, what this world is. You gotta look a lot deeper than what's presented at the surface level, I promise you. And these methods that I'm going to present are going to help you do that. But what I've found in life is that a lot of problems that plague myself, like that plague the individual and also plague humanity as a whole, they stem from a lack of understanding and they stem from a lack of perspective. And simply by taking it upon yourself to look deeper, to try to understand something better or to view something from a different perspective, I've found that simply by doing that, a problem in itself can often be solved. So these methods that I'm going to present are going to help you expand your consciousness. They're going to help you navigate this reality better. They're going to help you understand what is true. They're going to help you understand who you are, and they're going to help you understand the world around you. So without further ado, let's get into these methods. Alright, so the first method, and probably the most obvious, is meditation. Meditation has been around for thousands of years. It is the most classic spiritual practice because it's literally so effective. I've been meditating every day for a while now and the effects on me have been profound. Meditation gives one the space to separate between their thoughts and their awareness. And when you get into meditation, you quickly realize that thoughts are just always floating around in awareness. Random thoughts just spontaneously arise and you really have no control or say over those thoughts. And often in everyday life, we have a thought, we either identify with it, we attach ourselves to it, or we can just randomly let it go. And our thoughts really rule our lives. And when you get into meditation, you realize because thoughts are just random and it's kind of spontaneous, we don't have control over them, a lot of our life is ruled by unconsciousness. So when you meditate, you have that separation between thoughts and awareness. You observe your thoughts from a state of non-attachment, from a state of disidentification, and you can view a situation in your life or in the world or whatever situation you're observing, you observe that from a completely new perspective. And that perspective is with less ego. So the ego often kind of clouds our perspective and our awareness on things. And with meditation, we can observe from a state of egolessness and we can get new insights on how we should act going forward and how we should go about life. And if you really get deep into this meditative practice, it can leak into your everyday life and everything you do in life can become like a mindfulness practice for you, which gives you a lot of clarity of mind in everyday life, strength of mind, and just overall peace and calmness in your life, which can make life a lot more enjoyable and wholesome for you. So that's kind of what meditation does for a lot of people. Meditation has done that for me. I highly recommend meditation just because you can observe something without the ego kind of clouding it. You can observe a situation for what it is. So that's why I recommend meditation, and without further ado, let's get into the next method. Alright, so the next method of expanding consciousness is one that's often very overlooked because I feel like a decreasing amount of people are doing it, and that is reading. Reading is amazing for expanding consciousness because what a book is, doesn't even matter what kind of book it is, nonfiction, fiction, self-help, whatever. A book is kind of an author's decades of life experience or research neatly condensed into a few hundred-page book, perfect for you to read in a few hours. That is powerful. A lifetime of knowledge in a few hundred pages. So reading can open you up to all these new perspectives that you had really never even considered before at all. Like I said, we often find ourselves in this bubble, a limited perspective of reality, and reading a book on someone's entire life or what they learned in their life, that is so fucking valuable, and it's so overlooked, and it makes me sad how overlooked it is. Recently, I've been reading a few Eckhart Tolle books because I've been getting into the spiritual path, and I've gotten a lot out of it. Right now, I'm reading a book called The Book of Not Knowing by Peter Ralston, which is all about discovering truth and finding what's true in your life. And he basically talks about how to have a genuine insight, it often happens right after a state of not knowing. And he talks about how our entire framework of reality is based off a bunch of assumptions and beliefs that are not even necessarily true. So in discovering what's true, you kind of have to give up a lot of those beliefs and assumptions, and then it's called the Book of Not Knowing, so he talks about how a state of not knowing comes right before genuine insight, and that's kind of really helped me a lot. Another book I read about a year ago was called A Beneath the Scarlet Sky by Mark Sullivan, and that was a book about a true story about a teenager in World War II who helped Jews escape to neutral Switzerland. He basically risked his life to do all of this, and then he later became a spy. He was spying on a very high up ranking person in the Nazi army who he was his personal driver, and that was eye-opening. It's all a true story, and it's gut-wrenching because it really gives you a first-person perspective into how brutal World War II was, and it just really expanded my perspective on how brutal humanity can be at its worst. And those are just some of my examples. Reading is very powerful, very overlooked, really helps you get out of your bubble, vastly expands consciousness, so highly recommend reading. Something's very overlooked. Definitely get into reading. I have some book recommendations I might go over in another video. I can also leave some links below, so let's get into the next one. Alright, so the third method of expanding consciousness is psychedelics, and I cannot say that I recommend psychedelics to everyone because they are so incredibly powerful and can be dangerous if you're not prepared properly, or you're in a wrong mindset beforehand, or the setting's wrong or something. That's why I can't say I recommend it, but psychedelics are what even got me into the spiritual path in the first place. I had a full-blown ego-death experience where I had my entire identity fall away from me, and I realized who I thought I was my entire life was just kind of a web of assumptions and beliefs that really weren't even necessarily true. And when I had my ego fall away from me, I opened up to a whole new level of being that was just beyond survival. I felt interconnected with everything. I felt one with everything. I just felt like I was a part of the entire universe, and it was so powerful. The experience was beyond words. And I have some videos on my channel if you are interested in that, regarding preparation, my insights, and all that sorts of stuff. But psychedelics are definitely not something to mess around with. They are very powerful, and they'll show you things that you might not be ready for. And psychedelics, they are, the experience is often beyond words. You're shown insights and you have experiences that are literally transhuman. They are impossible to comprehend in an everyday state of consciousness. Our language is not designed to describe these things, and it's just utterly mind-blowing. But psychedelics, they literally make the unconscious conscious. They reveal to you your blind spots. Oftentimes these mystics who spend years of their life meditating to have a mystical experience, they might not even have a mystical experience or a glimpse of enlightenment for like 10 to 20 years on their path. Whereas if you take a psychedelic, you can instantly induce a similar experience to a Satori enlightenment experience, just on psychedelics, just by ingesting a substance. So that's very, very powerful. Like I said, do not underestimate this. But it will take you out of the prison of your perspective. It will undoubtedly expand your consciousness. It might be too much for you to handle. So definitely ease into psychedelics, and let's get into the next method. Alright, so the fourth method of expanding consciousness is travel. And I do not mean travel in the sense of leisure, like to go to a resort or just to visit a specific landmark or something. I mean to travel to really want to understand a culture or a society. And I think the most effective places to go for expanding consciousness is to a more poor country where survival is kind of a struggle for a lot of people. They're very poor. Things don't come easy, because I know most of my subscribers live in America. or another first world country where, a lot of things are handed to us on a silver platter. Food, water, shelter, other luxuries come very easy to us, so we don't really think about how hard it is for other people to get those things. And I know oftentimes the media might portray another country as very poor or something and have an idea of what it's like, but it's an entirely different thing to go and experience that country firsthand. So, if you travel to a very poor place where, a lot of people are struggling, that can really open your eyes to the state of humanity and can really open you up to want to help that group of people in that country and really increase your empathy and concern for humanity. And hell, it could even spark you to make your entire life path to help them. Who knows? Traveling is undoubtedly a very powerful method of expanding consciousness. It's not something I've done much in my life, but it's something that I look very much forward to in the future. So let's get into the fifth method now. Alright, so the next method of expanding consciousness is journaling. All types of journaling. It can be any type you want. Something that I find very valuable is doing a stream of consciousness, which is kind of where you let your mind flow unfiltered onto the paper, or you type it or whatever. I have a document on my computer where I have over 200,000 words in the document where I've been doing streams of consciousnesses once every week or 2 weeks, and it's been very powerful because it kind of just reveals to you what your mind is occupied with, what your psyche is concerned with, and when you view it from more of a detached state, you can get some insights into what your problems are, what's kind of plaguing you in life. But it's also fun to just look at, because if you view it from a detached state and your mind thinks of something random and stupid, it's just kind of something to laugh at. So it's kind of like, in a way, like meditation, where you view what your mind comes up with unfiltered from a detached point of view, from a non-attachment state. So in that sense, it's like meditation. I don't view it as powerful as meditation, but it's just something that is a little similar in that sense, because it kind of, you just observe your thoughts for what they are, thoughts. And when you view it in word form, it's a little bit of a different perception. So I find that interesting. There's also other methods of journaling, like bullet journaling, where you might track your habits or your schedule or something like that. I have not much experience with that, but I know it is powerful for a lot of people. Another thing you can do is audit your life, where you kind of write down literally everything that you do in your life for, a day or a week. It kind of reveals to you how you're spending your time, might reveal to you your blind spots, and just reveal to you how you can better productively spend your time. So I know a lot of people spend like 6 hours a day on their phone. I think my average screen time is like 6 hours 30 minutes. So I know I can maybe take away time from that and increase time in meditation or doing another spiritual practice to help aid me in this process. So that's something that's very powerful. Another thing you can do is dream journaling. It's another thing. It's kind of just like writing down what your unconscious dreamed about at night. Sometimes it's meaningless, sometimes it might be meaningful, but it's just interesting to view what your mind thinks about when it's unfiltered. Again, a little bit similar to the stream of consciousness thing. So there's plenty of types of journaling. You can also do prompts, random prompts, see where your mind takes you. So plenty of methods. I don't view journaling as effective as other methods like meditation, but it's interesting to see where your mind goes unfiltered. So definitely recommend that, and let's get into the next method. So the next method of expanding consciousness is to put yourself in a high conscious environment. Surround yourself with high consciousness friends. There's a saying that's like, you're the sum total of who you spend your time around, and I think that's very true. If you just look at the type of person you were in high school, you're probably very similar to the type of person your friends were. So yeah, who you spend your time around utterly determines who you are. So you're gonna have a tough time self-actualizing if you're surrounding yourself with people whose philosophy is like, fuck bitches, get money. It's just not gonna happen. So, I know it's hard to let go of some relationships or some friendships, but if you really feel like that relationship is just no longer serving you, by all means cut it off if that's what you feel is necessary. And I know it can be hard, we have attachments, but sometimes it's necessary for our development going forward. So you're utterly determined by your environment. I would say that your environment determines the type of person that you are much more than your genetics do. So, if you want to become a more highly conscious person, spend your time around high conscious friends. It's as simple as that. Low consciousness will bring you down, and high consciousness will bring you up. You really have to think about who do I want to be? What am I striving for going forward? And you want to place yourself in an environment based off that. And I know it's kind of hard to meet new people during the pandemic and, kind of switch your social situation during the pandemic because, you can't really do anything, you can't go out, so it's hard to meet people. We all experience that, it's a lonely thing, but hopefully this pandemic will be over soon. And as soon as this ends, I encourage you to really think about your environment and how that's impacting you, and how if you switch your environment up, how you think that could benefit you going forward. So yeah, that's really all I gotta say for this one. Let's get into the final method. Okay, so the final method of expanding consciousness is just straight up contemplation, just plain old thinking. This one is really overlooked. People underestimate how powerful the mind is. So contemplation is extremely important. Just asking yourself just basic ass questions, or sometimes complex ass questions, can put your mind at thought and really yield some powerful answers to help progress your life. Recently, I went on a camping trip about 4 or 5 days last August with a couple of my friends. I set aside a lot of time to really contemplate and think about my life. I wrote down 100 questions about my life, what I want out of life. Some of them were existential questions. I wrote down 100 of those questions and I answered them all. I had a lot of time to think on that trip. There was no cell phone service. I was just with myself, with my thoughts, completely alone. And this is what I really recommend for contemplation, is that you're just alone with your thoughts with no distractions, because in everyday life we have so many distractions. Our phone is a big one. Just random things we gotta do are often very big hindrances to our clarity of mind. And if you just went on a solo retreat, like, took a drive for an hour or so, or went on a solo camping trip for a couple days, and you just have solid time to contemplate and think deeply about a situation, your mind can really yield some powerful answers. Like I said, people underestimate the power of their mind. And if you just ask a question, just ask a quality question, your mind goes at work, oftentimes subconsciously, to help you answer that question. And even though a lot of these methods involve detaching from the mind and detaching from your thoughts, your mind is still a very powerful thing. It runs your life. So definitely ask yourself quality questions. I made a video a few months back on 10 questions to ask yourself. These are very, very powerful questions to ask yourself, regarding life purpose and what you want out of life. So definitely check out that video. I will leave a link in the description. So contemplation is an extremely powerful method, and that's really all I gotta say for this video, guys. And to sort of wrap this up, all these methods are helping you expand your perspective on life. Because, in our life, we get in this bubble, and our bubble can truly just keep us in such a limited perspective. We're only one individual in a sea of individuals, so we can't possibly know everything. And but doing these practices really helps you break out of that bubble, and you can get a lot more out of life when you break out of this bubble. You can learn a lot. You can learn a lot about yourself. You can learn a lot about the world, and it really helps you get in tune with not only yourself but also the human condition. And a lot of problems that plague humanity stem from a limited perspective of a situation. And just by simply doing some of these practices, you can get answers. You can really have your mind blown, and you can literally expand your consciousness. And this is a big part of what this spiritual work entails, is realizing that it's not all about myself. I really have such a limited perspective on reality, and I want to live for a higher purpose. So these practices really help you do that. I highly recommend you do at least some of them. I think for the spiritual work and conscious development, doing at least a few of these are absolutely crucial to the process. You can't just do nothing and expect your consciousness to expand, or expect you to really develop your life and go forward. So I really hope these methods helped you. I hope you do some of them, and I hope they help you break out of your bubble. And I hope they really help your life. I hope they increase your concern for humanity, and I hope that gives you more empathy regarding the human condition. And I really hope these practices help you understand yourself a lot better, because oftentimes we really don't know who we are, and these practices help you discover who you truly are. The awareness that perceives it all. You're not your thoughts, you're not your mind, although your thoughts and your mind are certainly powerful, that completely run your life. These get you in touch with the fact that you are not your thoughts or your mind. You're the awareness that perceives it. So take these practices seriously. I hope this video helped you in one way, shape, or form. And I know there's other practices that I didn't mention. I know there's like yoga and Kundalini yoga and stuff, but I don't know jack shit about that. So I didn't talk at all about that. There's definitely other methods out there, but these are 7 that have helped me and the ones that I am most familiar with. So yeah, that's really all I got to say for this video, guys. I do have a Patreon if you guys are interested in helping me at a higher level. I don't make a lot of money from this channel. I put a lot of time and effort into it, so if I got a few extra dollars, a few extra pledges, that'd mean a lot to me. So that's really all I gotta say for this video, guys, and have a great day and peace.